Hello. All right, let's dive in. If you have ever spent 15 to 30 minutes looking for your charger, or you have ended up opening your laptop and just been like, where the heck do I find what I'm looking for? This video is for you. We are going to talk about how to get organized as an ADHDer. And I am calling out women who are juggling home and business or either. I myself have struggled big time in the past, and I want to, affirm for you that maybe you're not a beginner, but you're running a business that makes money. And yet your house still feels like a tornado hit it. And your brain feels the same way. You've got clients to serve, you have got laundry to fold, and both are behind. You're constantly toggling between CEO mode and mom mode. Friend, I have been there so many times. And the thing is, you know that you're capable, but your environment and systems just aren't supporting you. So let's get into a couple of things that I bet are really important to you. Um, you are somebody who values freedom. You want to make your own hours, your own rules, and to have time for your family and your passions. You want balance. You crave that ability to succeed in business without sacrificing your home life or your mental health. And you're ambitious. You value growth for sure, which my goodness, I can 100% um, understand and be there with you. So, here are some problems and how they actually can affect you. And that would be struggling the transition between tasks because everything feels equally urgent. This is something I hear about so often for people who have ADHD. And I have ADHD, my husband has ADHD, and two of my three kids have ADHD. I also run my own business from home, and I was an emergency nurse in the past, which thankfully I was able to prioritize in the emergency department, but at home, it can be a little bit harder. So I'm going to get into that in a minute. But yes, that struggle between transitions can be so hard. And for me, I really, really felt that, especially actually, my biggest struggle would be coming home from the emergency department from that crazy, chaotic spot where people were literally dying and where it was just like really a nightmare in a lot of situations to getting home to where there were three screaming little boys or just like a messy house, or suddenly I am just like, oh, like I'm in the kitchen. Like, what are we doing for dinner? Things like that. Context switching actually really drains your energy and it fractures your focus. And this can happen if you're just working at home or if you're coming home from work, like I said. And you might feel like you start the day with a plan, but that plan derails by 10 a.m. and then feel behind all day. I so have felt that way. I have my planner. You guys know I love it. I will link it below. It's the Plum Planner. And this constant mental load steals your freedom and it makes balance feel really impossible. And I was going to say, sorry, for my planner, I will get into this in a minute, but I would give myself so many things to do. I would go between having like 1 to 2 things on my list or being like, "I don't even know how to use this thing," to having like 30 in a day. I would put down everything, from like load the dishwasher to empty the dishwasher, which at times in life is valuable. And I'm not going to tell you not to. Another thing that you might feel like you struggle with is that you're just keeping up in one area, maybe like just when things start feeling like they're going well at work or in your business or at home, the other area starts to fall. And it's so frustrating and it's so hard, especially as a parent. You might be like, oh, like we started doing family movie night and then that started falling apart. And I will tell you, so for a while, I was doing the Fly Lady system. And that I remember being like, this still does take a lot more time than you might realize because It's still like you really it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like time, it just happens, right? So we have to come up with systems that work for us. But yes, like sometimes I would feel like, work was going great, but then home was falling apart. And I never felt caught up in both. And that eroded my sense of peace and success. And let me know. In the comments if you have ever felt the same way. And instead of growing, you're just surviving, and growth feels like a luxury that you cannot afford right now. And sometimes you get time to work, but you can't focus. And that is so something that I still struggle with so much. I will just like a couple days ago, I was writing the outline for this video, and it took me like 2 hours to get into work. So I still am not 100% immune, but I do have some tips that can work. And, sometimes like you'll have only 2 hours to work, but you spend 90 minutes trying to get into the zone. You keep cleaning your desk. Suddenly you're like, oh, this is like the perfect time to do this, or checking your email. That's a big one, second guessing your plan. ADHD or not, because I am talking, about ADHD today, but no matter what, we are in a distracted world, and our brains have been trained to be pulled in like several directions. Um, and freedom becomes a trap when there are no rails to keep you focused. That's the thing. And we have so many options and opportunities now with online and just all sorts of things where it's like we don't even know what we should do. Another thing is you might feel frozen because everything needs to get done. You walk into your office or your kitchen and you immediately shut down because you're like, there's just so much. I don't even know what to do, or your to-do list is so long that you avoid it over together. And you totally know, like when I said I had like 30 things on my to-do list, sometimes that was helpful, but sometimes it wasn't. And another thing that is interesting is a lot of us, we think like, oh, like we have to like find the perfect system, and then we have to like live with it forever. We have to commit, which is not true. You don't have to commit to a system. We can try stuff out and then we can tweak it. That is totally fine. So here are some mistakes to mix or to fix. Number one, and that would be following rigid productivity advice that fights your natural flow. So sort of what I was just saying is we will get advice from somebody online. Like maybe you would watch my video and be like, oh, okay, so that's how I should do it. But that doesn't work for you. Morning routines, batching, and pomodoros, which if you don't know what pomodoro is, I haven't done it for so long. I think it's like 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off. Maybe that can't be right. Something like that. But anyway, they don't work when your kids are melting down and your energy crashes midday. I just got back from a trip over to Vancouver yesterday, and it was just a really fast trip on the ferry. We were only over there for 5 hours, and I was like running around, and I would check my steps at the end of the day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I actually walked 10,000 steps. I didn't even realize I would, which in the city isn't hard to do. But I am tired today. So I'm adjusting how I'm tackling today. So we need to be flexible with guidelines and not fixed routines. And that's one of the great things about having our own businesses at home, or, working from home, is we can sort of be a bit more flexible with our lives, which I personally feel is a huge gift, and I love it. Another thing is a lot of people, they're trying to copy the strategies that work for neurotypical people or for single people. And again, if you're neurotypical, you probably will relate to a lot of this just because of the world we live in. So what is normal anyway? But or people who are single, or people who are just like a childless male entrepreneur, which we hear about so often. Um, and there's the false economy also. A lot of us, we think that when we just watch these videos online, which, thank you for watching it. And I am here to inspire you, but I'm also here to help you to help yourself. But we think that we are just saving time and money by DIYing things ourselves, when we're definitely not saving time. And quite often we're not saving money. It's like when we buy that thing that ends up breaking because, the quality just isn't there. But then you end up spending time, hours searching for files or rewriting content, which, I mean, we've all been there, right? Fixing things that break. That free solution is costing your clients sleep and time with your family. And yes, the middle-aged male gurus. Yes. If your business is profitable, it deserves infrastructure that matches your level. And again, like if you're working from home, if you're a homemaker, same thing. We want some kind of system because otherwise we're just spinning our wheels. Another huge mistake people run into is relying on memory instead of systems. Oh my goodness. It's a real joke in my house. My husband and I often joke about how we're both just terrible with our memory. And we're okay with that. We understand it. But he'll be like, remind me to this. And I just pick up my phone and I'm like, set a timer for blah, 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 because I know I cannot remember things. I am starting broccoli and cauliflower right now to put out in the garden in a month for fall. And I have a timer to check it every day. Otherwise, I will forget. Um, Another thing, like we're mentally tracking content ideas. Oh, the amount of times I have had an idea and not written it down, and then been like, that was such a good video idea or such a good reframe or whatever. It's painful, right? Client requests, kid appointments, grocery lists. This is like a big thing about why I don't like to check my email when I'm, like standing in line at a store or something, because I'm like, I'm going to forget this and I am not going to come back to it. So if I do by accident, I use the little star, use the star option if you use Gmail or whatever, like a flag if you use something else to remind yourself to come back to, or you can put it as unread. That can be really helpful. So then we end up beating ourselves up about what we forgot. And your brain is for ideas, it's not for storage. Offload those systems that remind you before becomes a crisis to remind you. Because and that's another thing is like I have a pencil and I have some post-it notes next to my bed because so often we will get it. And I even have a pen that has a light in the like by the l- ink and it lights up the post-it so I can write in the dark. Because how often have you had an idea lying in bed, or if you just can't sleep because your mind is racing, just writing those things down, it just lets you relax. The whole point, like we're really only here for a little bit of time. Let's try to enjoy ourselves. So one of the biggest struggles that a lot of us run into, ADHD or not, is we are told just to be more disciplined. And being told that does not help. It's not, you're like, yeah, like I kind of like thought about that before. So if it's your issue is not laziness, it might be burnout or executive function issues or decision fatigue. Discipline is a finite resource and systems are sustainable. So often we get inspired by something and we're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm so excited. But then once that initial excitement wears off, we have to keep going. And if we can just create systems that allow that to continue to happen, it is so, so helpful. Um, and it's also really great to design your space, your routines, and tools to compensate for your brain's tendency and not to correct them. So here is what is actually going on. So if you have ADHD, it's not a motivation or a discipline problem. It's a brain wiring thing, executive function, decision fatigue, memory challenges. And the clutter in your home and your business, it isn't a character flaw, it is systems failure. And I have some questions that I'm going to get to in a minute because I put out a thing on YouTube asking for some questions. And I'm very excited to be able to answer them because like the systems are like such a big thing. Trying harder won't fix a broken system. And here are the principles that work. Everything needs a home. So but there's a fine line, and you'll see with one of the questions that we have is that visual cues are so valuable to everybody, especially those with ADHD. And you will see a lot of us will leave things out to remind ourselves. The problem is either we become blind to them or there's just too much. And eventually there becomes so much that we can't see it. And also, it makes it harder to live in because clutter really affects our brains too. Um, so it's great if everything can have a home, and being very strategic with what you leave out. It's okay to leave some stuff out. Now, my armoire back there that you can see, um, I really like it. And I was thinking about it today. What I like about it is the way that I have it set up is I can open it up and I can see everything that I need. So on my desk, which is, I will admit, a tiny bit messy right now, I have like what I usually keep out is I have like this little thing of Vaseline for my lips because I just love it. And I have my planner. Usually it goes with me whatever room I'm in, whether it's the living room or my office here, which are like my two main spots to work, or outside right now because it's nice out, except for right now it's rainy. And those are the main things, my mouse, my keyboard, my Ember mug, which I'm, obsessed with. Those are the things that stay on my desk. However, the stuff in the armoire, if I open it, I can see what I need, where I need it. And it's nice if you can have like little trays or little boxes where you can organize things, but where you know where things go. So that's really helpful. So that is an example of stuff that is sort of like a visual cue, but in a contained system. Um, and that's another good reason why it's so important to declutter and to simplify and organize your space so that when you do open those closed spots, because we can't keep everything out, when you do have it tidy in there, it's so oh gosh, I don't even know the word. Like it's just so nice. It's so reassuring. It's so like soothing. It's so comforting. So everything needs a home. Another one is decide once system. So don't redecide everything all of the time. It's great if you can have, for home, balancing meals versus, like new meals versus, tried and true meals. There's one of the ladies in our community. She has her meal plan scheduled for like the next 8 years. It just rotates. And that could work for some people. Like some people they have like Taco Tuesday or Fish Friday or, Meatless Monday. Those can work really well too. Just sort of knowing what you have. I love to use the app and they have been a sponsor before. They're not sponsoring this video, but the Plan to Eat app is so great. And I will just sit there watching YouTube because I love to watch YouTube for fun. And I will just decide my meals for the week, which is really handy. Um, but it's really great if you just have like some standard things. But for me, I really like variety. That's how I roll. But I still have things in one spot. I'm not like going all over the place. Like I really do have like almost everything in there. I do have a few cookbooks, but it's a very simple thing for me to do. And part of that is that there's a system and decide once systems. Like outfits, you might be like, this girl just records everything on one day. I actually have about 6 of these long sleeve Gap uh t-shirts, and I have like about 6 short sleeve Gap t-shirts, all in navy blue because I love navy blue. And I'm actually having a lady on my channel slash podcast in the video will come out in I'm not sure if it'll be in August or not, but she is a color expert. So hopefully she says navy's my color. I know black isn't my color. But anyway, I have a lot of and I also have white. I do actually have a couple in black, but it's very easy for me to get dressed because I have like this kind of standard t-shirt and then I wear like different sweaters, different hoodies, whatever. So having sort of decide once systems is so helpful, like capsule wardrobe, content ideas in your business, having like a system for how you're creating content is so helpful. Having a system for how you manage your time in your business is so helpful. And it's also really helpful to have like micro tasks over mega lists, breaking things down, or it won't happen. Like having a list can be helpful, but just not going too far. And having place where you can keep things. I created a system and I will link it below, or it might already be. And I call it minimalist business ecosystem, and it's a hybrid between Notion, which is fantastic, and that's actually where I'm reading my notes from right now, for this. And it's where I keep track of all content for my business. I have my YouTube scripts in there. I have my Instagram plan. I have my YouTube scripts in here. I have about, I'd say, 40 ideas, and I have my content plan all the way to September. And I can tweak it because goodness knows your girl is going to want to tweak it. However, it's good to just, as a creative person, sometimes inspiration hits and you just go with it. I also have the ability to, keep track of my meals in there. If that's something you like, I put that in there. I do it in my phone, but you can. And that's just how I manage my business. That's for the creating part. I have my Google Drive, which connects to that, and then my planner. I call it my triangle system. The three of them work together beautifully. And then another great thing is body doubling. So body doubling is when you can jump on a call and work with people. You can, in our decluttering group, we have a decluttering membership. There's a one body doubling session a month where my lovely content manager Simon, she gets on there and she declutters a spot with other people in the group, and they love it. Like, they get so much done. And it's the same when people work one on one with me. We do. It's sort of like, I'm not necessarily, well, I am working, but I'm usually like doing this, but we do like messages on Marco Polo, like video messages back and forth. So things like that, it can be just so helpful because you have somebody else helping you stay accountable. It's not like, have you ever cleaned your garage and it's easier when you do it with your husband or your family member or whatever, or maybe it's not, you know what I mean? But those sort of things can just be so helpful. And a lot of people, like, they'll hop on a Zoom call. And I think that's something we're going to be doing in our free Facebook group, and we're going to sort of make it um, more supportive for people who also are in business. And then home organization tips that can also be very beneficial because whether or not you run a business, you have a home. And if your home is chaotic, then life is chaotic. So keeping your most used items visible and accessible can be helpful strategically. And I'll get to that in a minute. Using bins without lids can be useful. The armoire, like I mentioned, or if you have cupboards and have things like strategically put away, can be so helpful. Labels can be really great forever if you want, or temporarily. I am more of a fan of a temporary label. And then using routines that cue you. So, like when I brush my teeth, I throw in a load of laundry. Dawn, the minimal mom, a lot of you know, she does a load of laundry around dinner time. So that's really helpful too. And I really like to anchor things to meals or um, things like brushing teeth, things that happen every day. The beginning and end of the day are really huge. For business tips, a dashboard view like Notion, as I mentioned, for everything like content, clients, calendar. I forgot to mention, like, I have a section for clients in there. Organizing your digital files like your kitchen. So you want things easy to grab, labeled clearly, grouped by function. And that's how I have my drive set up. I have one section for content, one for clients, and, like my um, membership. I have one for marketing. I have one section for personal because forever we would get these digital report cards from the school and I'd be like, I don't know what to do with these. So my downloads folder was full. So now I just have, like, there's a section in the personal and it's called kid report cards. I have a section for parents because for my dad passed away. Some of the stuff for him is in there. If I need anything for my mom, I could put that in there. Just so helpful. Taxes, financial. But that's 6 main folders. And then within each of those folders, I have subfolders that just keep it so organized so it's not chaotic because it was. And that is what is so helpful. That's what helps life stay organized and more peaceful so you have more time to relax, so you have more time with your family. So you just don't feel stressed. I get like anxious like when I talk about this. And then Setting up recurring task templates instead of reinventing your to-do list every week can be so helpful too. Scheduling CEO time at your natural focus time, not when the world says you should. So this is a big one because so often people will say, get up at 5 a.m. And I will tell you, I tried that for a while. And sure, at first it did kind of feel a little bit novel, but I quickly realized that I am not at my peak at that time of day. I actually when my I only have 1 kid left in school now, but when he gets up or when I get up at like 7 and I pretty much come downstairs, I will have like a cup of tea, wake him up, make him breakfast, take him to school. Then I relax until like 10 a.m. and then I start my work day. And then the actual I was gonna say creativity, the time where I need to be like is ironically, it's more like kinda like set 3 to 4 to 5 p.m. Sometimes it's like later in the evening, and I'm okay with that. It just sort of depends on the season, it depends on what's happening in life, but just like understanding your own brain. And yes, there are times where we have to really kind of like force ourselves to do things, whether it's because of kid schedules. If you have toddlers and you're like, well, I have a blog and I can only write my blog at 5 a.m. I totally get that. I did nursing school with a 1, 3, and 5-year old when I started. So yes, like I did things at crazy times of day and just realize, okay, so these can just be like temporary solutions that we don't need to kind of like always force ourselves into. Let me just fix something here. Um, and then make sure that you are reframing the shame. I don't want you to feel like you're lazy because you are not. You've got strengths. You have got creativity. You have got resilience. You can shine when your systems stop fighting you. You need systems. And you might be like so tired of just trying so hard all of the time. And maybe you just need to try something different. Start with one small system. That's one of the biggest things is understanding that when we start a system, because I have my mighty method, which is triage because I'm an emergency nurse. We look at like what is like the most like situation, what we're going to tackle first, and then the biggest priorities and I will quickly tell you how to prioritize in a second. And then we simplify. We remove everything extra that we can. We organize it and then we thrive. So how what systems work for us? And the thrive is one system at a time, bringing one thing in, whether it's at lunchtime, whether it is at whether it's like a dinner or whatever. And so, one quick thing about priorities. So, a lot of people, they're like, I don't know what is the most important thing. So, your biggest priority is keeping the things that need to stay alive alive. So, that's easy. Don't pay attention to my plant. I water it sometimes. I tend to get plants that don't need a lot of water. I have a beautiful garden outside. Outside is good. Inside, ugh. But feeding your children, loving your children, that is obviously your priority. And I know you might be like, okay, but like, how do I fit the rest? And then we're going to look at what is the most important thing. Like, if it's your money making business, what's the most important part? Of like meeting your client needs. That's number one. For me, it's number one, meeting my client needs. My membership every day, going into the membership, checking out what's going on there. Um, Number two, like what do you do to keep your content afloat? You need to like tackle that marketing. Looking at that, what is one thing people will talk about needle movers and really like what is one thing that will get you that much closer? So we just need to look at sort of the hierarchy of importance. And if it's starting a new project, that generally, unless you've already identified that as like your moneymaker or whatever, that is not, oh, thank you. That is not a um, priority if it's something new. If it's something new, we need to not let our ADHD squirrel brain, because it's fun and exciting. We have to like take care of the other stuff first. That's not the priority. But one of the most important things to realize is a lot of people, they say like, I don't have time. And with my coaching clients, they'll say like, I don't have a lot of time in the day. And I'm like, I get that. So you have 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work. You have an additional 8 hours. Say half of that is spent with your kids, then you have 4 more hours. If you're like, well, I need time to relax, I get that. But how much time to relax do you actually need? Right. So, and how do you do that? So for me, when I go to bed, I'm like, I'm going to be reading my Kindle in the dark. That is like the thing I need every day, half an hour of that. Um, and yeah, if you do need more help with prioritizing, feel free, book a discovery call with me and we can chat about that. So let's get to a couple of questions. Um, but first, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Bonnie, Mary, hello. Lisa from over in Vancouver. Hello, Lisa. We've got Ladybug, and Patty, Lauren, and I saw Kelsey's here. She's the one with the amazing meal plan that goes on forever. Okay, so let's get to this question. So the first question I have here is, my partner has ADHD and uses every section of our kitchen counter for different things, for supplements, for charging, drop zones, etc. We have completely opposite organizing styles. How do you manage to keep your counters clear? And that, I just summed that up. And I do want to thank, I can't remember who asked that question. I know you are so wonderful and you comment all the time, but she's so sweet because she reminded me, she corrected me that I had the time set wrong. So thank you so much. I'm like quickly looking it up. Jenny, thank you. Because I was like, I had it set for 11 p.m. and I'm going to promise you, I would not have been here then. So anyway, let's get back to this question. So supplements, charging drop zones, all of the things. So this is that ADHDer who needs everything out, right? So a lot of them, they're like, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And that truly is like an ADHD thing. So storing things visibly but neatly is key. So we need to see things to remember them. So hiding everything can be a backfire, but leaving out the most important things. So a very interesting thing is in my own house. So we have like, I take like a stomach medication every day and I've got my supplements, all of the things. I keep them above the fridge. I know you're not supposed to, but I do. That's just where they are. And it's from when my kids were little and we needed things up high. We could probably move them, but that's where they are right now. My husband kept his supplements and his medication above the coffee machine, and it drove me crazy. But that is where he was able to remember to take it. They're no good if he can't remember to take it. And he just had them there. And it's just where they were. So keeping things where we need them, if we need to be remembering them. Now, not everything we need to remember. Like, for example, the coffee can be put away because he's going to remember to get the coffee and he will know where to find it. So that's really helpful. But for the things that you do need to keep out, using zones and not piles is really good. Trying small trays can be very helpful because the little trays can make things look neater. And it can also help to um, just sort of like keep things organized. Piles are not good. Piles help things, first of all, keep messier. It's harder for our brains to focus when it's messy. Using the one in, one out rule, if a drawer gets used, the counter above it must get cleared a little bit in return. And the other thing is, maybe you can declutter a space and he can have a drawer. That's one of the things I did for my husband on this level, because I have my office. This is the main level of the house. And this is where I keep everything for work. We have a few things for the rest of the family in here, but not really. Um, and so for him in our dining room, I was like, here's your drawer. This is where we put your stuff. This is where your wallet goes, because he again, he's just like that. Like he leaves stuff around too. But then he knows, and the other good thing is then I can pick up his wallet and put it away and then he knows where to find it. Should I have to? I mean, I'm not going to say I should or shouldn't. Like if I want stuff picked up and I want a happy marriage, maybe I'm going to do it and I'm not going to nag him about that. If you're interested in relationship advice, check out my best friend Lindsay from Loving with Intention. Her YouTube channel is going so well right now and her videos are so good, so check them out and she will give you great advice. So another good is setting limits with love. Like you get this tray for supplements. When it overflows, we reset it together. We need to recognize that. So for my husband, we both have ADHD. Mine is more inattentive, his is sort of like just like total chaos, right? And he doesn't mind me saying that. So I will help him. Like I am kind of I won't say I'm more naturally organized. It takes me forever to figure out what's wrong. And then that's how I developed my mighty method, where I was like, oh, we can figure out a solution. And now I have my method for how to create these solutions. But setting limits with love, going through it with him, the one in, one out rule, using zones, not piles, compromising together can just be so helpful. Um, and again, being strategic with what's left out. Not everything needs to be left out. If he will remember to take his supplements, or if he could use a timer on something like his phone or a watch or something, then he might do better to put them away. But then and if he takes them every morning, he can set that timer. Now, I know a lot of ADHDers will be like, well, but then I start ignoring the timer. Well, you need to mix it up, change the tune, change the time, whatever. That's what we need to do to keep our brains sort of happy. The next question, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or down below the video. I have rampant combined ADHD and my kid is undiagnosed, but clearly hyperactive ADHD. His bedroom is a disaster, as is the whole house. How can I help my kid to learn to keep his room tidy when I struggle with it myself? So this is a really important thing for you to recognize, is that we need to start by modeling progress, not perfection. So even 5 minutes tidying together is a win. So what you could say is, and I can already tell what you're going to say, but I'm going to start cleaning up the living room. You go clean your room. He might be like, okay. And then he's going to go in his room and you're going to see him sitting there just playing with a toy or on a device or whatever. I mean, that's just how it works. Instead, what might work is turning it into a game or a race. And this even works for myself. Now, I mean, I have older teenagers. I don't even need to worry about that, but I will set a timer and be like, how much can I get done in 5 minutes? And you can do that with your kid too, is setting it into a game or a race. Let's see how fast we can tidy up the living room. And when 5 minutes is done, we're done. And then after that, be like, okay, now we're going to go to your room. Something like that can be so helpful. Using those bins, because organization is key. Decluttering is even more key because you can't organize clutter. Picture checklists can be so helpful for kids. Now, I'm not a parenting expert. I have parented, 2 kids to adulthood and one almost there, but also explaining why it's important to tidy up. And maybe you can share with him why your mess bothers you. Don't talk about his, but just say, when I am messy, because that's one of the things I will do in my own house is sometimes I'll be like, we need to clean up. And like, I know I am a lot of the problem here. So go ahead and just say, like, my brain feels calm when we declutter. So that's really helpful. I've been talking for 40 minutes. I'm going to have a sip of my delicious s'mores tea. Fooey, I have to run, but I'd love to watch later. Thank you, CL. Okay, so let's get to the chat a little bit. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, okay, well, like, what can I watch next? I will link a video down below or at the end, which is about the triangle system, which I think you'll find really helpful. But Lisa says piles equal horizontal, horizontal. Files equal vertical. And that's exactly what I did in my armoire back there. I need to make a video on that. Because I had things sort of like leaning, like a bunch of stuff, and I would just throw it in there. And finally, I just like got this thing to organize my books and files and whatever in there, and it is just so much better. And sometimes we just need I'm not always going to say, "Go ahead and buy something." I'm usually not. Usually, I'm going to say, "Get rid of the stuff," but if you can, occasionally something will help you. I got like my bathroom, a drawer in there because I needed it to be organized, just like I need my armoire organized. And so I got a thing. It's wooden. It's got all these little like boxes, and it is awesome. It has my drawer so matter diagonal, best of both worlds, worst of both worlds. Exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, just keeping things tidy is so helpful. Um, yeah, and Kelsey says her own blister pack is on the table so she doesn't forget. And that's just it. Like that's okay. Right? The most important thing, and she says she keeps their meds and supplements on a bookshelf in the kitchen, painkillers kept in the bathroom. Yeah, like recognizing the most often used things we want most accessible. Now, I have like my toaster and I put it away. I have my blender used daily, get it out, put it away because I like the counters clear. And I've talked about this before. My dad loved having all of our small appliances out on the counter. My mom hated it. And I don't know why. I guess he just liked to see them. Sometimes people were brought up, not him, but brought up in with less money, and so it makes them feel good to see stuff around them. That's a real thing that a lot of people who have you know clutter issues will recognize. Ladybug says I use a pill organizer and leave the bottles out, or leave that out and stash the bottles. Yeah, that works totally fine. My plant, yes. So my plant, it looks really scraggly, and that is like a cat kitten issue. um yeah, it's not doing terribly. It might I actually have a snake plant in my bathroom I started watering, and it is much happier now that I occasionally water it, but I would go like 3 months. It's fine. I really do need plants that don't like a lot of water, and that's what I have. Lisa says, I've trained myself to know where specific items live, like nightwear, nail clippers, scissors. I am that person in the house who I put all my stuff away so everybody knows where my stuff is so they go and get it and then they don't put it away. So that again is one of those things where I'm just like, please put this stuff away. If everything's important, nothing's important. Yep. This is perpetually in contention with dealing with object permanence. Yes. My mom just learned about that yesterday. She was telling us, she drove us. We took the ferry. If you didn't hear me mention that, like a little passenger ferry over to Vancouver yesterday. And she was like, I just learned about object permanence. And I was like, yeah. She's like, do you know about that? I'm like, yes. I'm like, that's my job. I know all about that. So, that's when we need to start moving stuff around or putting it away, finding a home for it. I'm not against using post-its until you don't notice those post-its anymore, using reminders until you don't anymore. We have to kind of like just sort of like keep finding ways to keep things interesting for ourselves. Patty says, I struggle a lot with executive dysfunction. I cannot focus and I can get tired pretty quickly. Can it be worse? Yeah, it's a struggle for sure. For sure. And Lisa, thank you for telling me you're drinking your second cup of coffee, which is already cold. You need one of these mugs. I love it. Keeps things hot for like 90 minutes. My Ember mug. And I was just walking through Best Buy in downtown Vancouver yesterday, and they have them there. I guess I'll link it below too. um, and let me see. Yeah, it is just great to have stuff organized in the most simple way possible and removing as much as you can. So if we don't have any more questions, I'll let you go for today. As I mentioned, I walked my little 10,000 steps yesterday, and I need to relax, write another video, enjoy this sort of gloomy weather. I get so sick. Any of my other friends, I've got Kelsey here. She's from the Lower Mainland. Lisa's from Vancouver, which is, the Lower Mainland. And oh, Bonnie says, I have my meds in our pantry near the sink. That's smart. Um, and we are, anyway, sorry, those of us in like this part of the world, it's so gloomy so much of the year. but it was hot and sunny and I love it, but I'm really enjoying this gloomy weather today and I'm making chili for dinner. So there you go. I started using the Apple Health app to remind me to take my meds. That is very smart. I didn't even know you could do that. That's great. I just use like timers galore, but I like that. I'm going to look at that. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming today. It was so good to see you all. Um, I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And